You're watching It's Life Live with your hosts, Juan Lee and Oliver Marcel. Come join us for enriching, enlightening, encouraging, and thought-provoking conversation. Let's go.
Hello.
What's happening?
How you doing? You know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
It says it's up.
Okay.
Instagram. I'm trying to see. Hello, everybody. Welcome to It's Life Live. We're trying to make it happen, trying to put it together. We've been trying to go out live on Instagram, and I want to be able to see if we're out there.
So,
see, because it still says that it's live on StreamYard.
Yeah. So what may have to happen, and we'll look at it at some point. We have to. I think there's one step that we might have missed there. I tested out going live by myself at some point on Instagram, and there was couple steps that I had to take. So,
okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna see what happens.
And you might be able to do it right now, maybe.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay. That'll work. While we're doing that, welcome to those of you who are watching live now or watching the replay. If you are unaware of what you've stumbled on, if this is your first time watching it, it's Life Live. It is conversation about all things life and how to navigate life successfully. And it is a Clear Journey sponsored program, and Juan will talk about what Clear Journey is in just a moment. But we just have engaged, just like the intro said, enriching, engaging conversations around life and the various aspects of life and how to navigate life successfully in many different areas, specifically 8 areas that Clear Journey talks about. So this is no different. We're gonna have another one tonight. So strap in and get ready for good conversation.
It's you know what? We're just gonna have to practice because it says it's up.
Okay.
And when I go into StreamYard, it basically won't let me change the key that's in the event from StreamYard to Instagram. So it's a, I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Got you.
You know what? Let me try one other place just to make sure. Let me see if it's even there.
So what you can do, honestly, if you need to change the key, then you can remove the destination from the stream, and then you can re-add it if you want. So if you click on it at the top and then hit edit, and you scroll down in the underneath the key that's grayed out, you can remove it from the destination. You can remove that destination.
Oh, you talking about just remove it and bring it and just re-add it?
And then you can bring it. Yeah, you can bring it back with the right key.
Let's see what happens.
And now what it should do, the key won't be grayed out anymore, and then you can replace it with the right key.
Okay, let's do this. And that's exactly what happened.
That's the beauty of live streaming, is that sometimes some things have to happen on the fly and they have to happen in real time. And so this is like this. Listen, this is a very great analogy, if you will, around how things happen in life sometimes, right? Sometimes you have some things that are you have a certain trajectory that you see yourself going on in life, and something comes up and you got to do something on the fly, and that's just how things happen, and being able to navigate those successfully without breaking down, without
there it is,
making rash decisions, without
there it is,
falling
we
apart.
there.
Then you get to the there it is moment.
And look, I'm a happy camper now.
You get to the there it is moment, and then
I'm
that's
a happy camper.
in life. That's essentially what we're looking for, right? We're looking for the there it is moment,
Yeah,
and prayerfully hoping that we are able to string together as many there it is moments as possible
absolutely.
this
Hopefully.
life's journey. So,
Hopefully. Okay, everybody. Look, welcome to It's Life Live, a sponsored podcast, streaming podcast by Clear Journey, a nonprofit organization that supports individuals in their challenges in life. We support you in every area of life. We have 8 areas that we talk about. Um, and basically what we talk about is how we connect the mindset of the attitudes that are necessary to navigate those 8 areas successfully. So that's where we are here at Clear Journey. We are here to help you navigate through life in some of the areas of that we talk about is finances. And that's what we're talking about here in the last couple of weeks. And basically, we're going to be talking about this until we get to our webinar that we're going to have. It's a webinar that will be in April, and it's about finances. And it's a part of our Harmony at Home series. And it's about how we can get the most out of understanding the value of financing with the right attitude, with the right mindset. And we'll be talking about that tonight. We're going to pick up and continue on the strategies of securing financial wellness. This is going to be part 2. And before we go any further, if you are looking at us live, we would really like it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's Clear Journeys YouTube channel, and also put comments in if you're with us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn, or if you're right here with us on StreamYard, feel free to give us some feedback, give us a comment, a thumbs up, just to let us know that you're here. We really would appreciate that. And anything else, Oliver?
no, I think that's it. I think that's it. It was a good conversation last week. So,
Well, we're
um,
going to just talk. If you didn't get a chance to get that, you can go back to part 1 and
you
get
you
the
got a chance.
first part of this. Um, but yeah, we're going to pick up. We're just going to glance over what we talked about last week, and it's really about being able to have to a secure financial wellness. I mean, it's intentional. It's not something that's just going to happen. Life is just like that. Life is just you've got to be able to navigate it, be able to adjust to situations and circumstances. And that's what this is all about, is how you do that with your finances, because your finances are connected to every other area of your life. I mean, every area of your life is going to be connected with your finances. It's going to impact your finances.
Mhm.
And last week we learned about, the various things, how to stay out of debt, because that's the key element of being able to navigate on the long term this financial journey.
Mhm.
Because what happens with debt is that debt begins to accumulate, and it gets worse and worse, and it gets harder and harder to get out of. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is getting out of it. But the fact is that if you can stay out of it, that's the best thing. And
Right.
that's what we talked about last week, is how we can stay out of it by being proactively putting together a financial plan, and then learning to put a budget in place, and then to really be mindful in our spending habits.
Mhm.
And then here's the big one. It was about having an emergency fund.
Yeah.
That is really important, because you never know what's going to happen in life. And then we went to financial management, and that's really, again, being how do you be considering using your money, being thoughtful in your using your money. It's intentional. This is the point we talked about, of being intentional, and then prioritizing your financial goals. These are all of the things And the thing that we didn't get a chance to talk about, because at that time we just try to ran through it, and that is the decision making in preventing debt.
Mm.
You know, that's a very important thing, and that is, how do you do that? Is to remain educated.
Yeah.
You get more and more education, because then you'll be using that education to make the decisions that can keep you out of debt. And only way you do that is you know what it takes to stay out of debt. You know, some of the things that we talked about last week is what you didn't know, and you get caught up in debt, and then life starts to snowball on you, and then you get caught behind all of the other things of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so it makes it kind of difficult. And the thing that we wanted to stress, and we talked about it a little bit, but we can't um, speak on this enough. And this comes about, we talked about there were 3 attitudes
Mm-hmm.
that we needed to possess
Yep.
if we wanted to manage our money and our finances well.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one was a sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have a mindset of a sacrifice, and it's the act of giving up something valuable or important for the sake of something else considered more important or worthy. I can't stress this enough. Sacrifice is going to be essential in being able to do what we're talking about doing with our finances. And I'm going to interrupt a little bit, because I didn't go back and really lay down my foundation. What made finances so important to me was my experiences in financial, residential and commercial financing.
Mm-hmm.
I did that. That was one of the things that was on my journey and my life journey. And it showed me how many people just did not understand how the system of finances work.
Right.
And that's where this all came from, as it relates to the knowledge that I have as it relates to doing this, because I took my own advice and I tried to keep myself in a positive position. Even when I was trying to help people, you know, I wanted to be an example of what I was sharing with them,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to keep people out of debt, or not putting them in a negative position, but being disciplined.
Yeah.
And that's the next very important attitude here, is discipline. And that is basically training oneself to follow a particular set of rules of conduct.
Mm-hmm.
You've We have to be self-disciplined. Nobody's going to force us to manage our money well,
Yeah.
because there are industries out there who don't want you to manage your money well.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, there there are things that are set up and put in place to ensure that you don't manage it well, because somebody else will benefit from your mismanagement.
And that's the whole point. Nothing is for free. Nobody is getting anything in this society for free. And even when it appears to, I think we talked about this last night, or last week, we were talking about what a credit card does to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not purchasing nothing for free. They are taking your potential when you take that credit card, because you're basically saying, I'm going to give you something that I don't even have yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to promise you something that I don't even have yet. And the credit card company is going, yeah, I'm going to have you in debt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly, it's like a hook. Debt is like a hook, like a fishing hook.
Mm-hmm.
Once they get you on it, you can't get off of it.
Yep.
It's easy to get into debt. It's hard to get out of debt. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
And the last one is being responsible. It's an obligation to carry out a task or duty diligently. Again, nobody's going to force you to do these things. You have to want to do them, because it's in your best interest to do them.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. And let's be clear. The debt that I'm talking about is consumer debt. Consumer debt is that stuff that goes right out the window, out your gas tank, in your stomach. The value is gone as soon as you purchase it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of debt that is the kind that holds many of us back from even being able to have a I'm not going to say a comfortable life, but just a comfortable life. Yeah, a comfortable life. That's what it is. It's a comfortable life. It's
Yeah.
because we're going to get into that, what debt does. And let's just go kick on into it because that's very interesting. This segment right here is about getting out of debt. And the challenge to getting out of debt is emotional and psychological.
Okay.
Can you imagine that stress and anxiety and the thought of being overwhelmed is what debt does to us?
Yep.
Can you imagine? I mean,
Yeah.
it builds up on us very, very gradually,
Mm-hmm.
because that one purchase that you don't think about, it builds on, and then you put another purchase on top of that purchase, on top of that purchase, on top of that purchase. And then over a period of time, we get to the point we go, when am I ever going to get this paid off? I give you my example. When I was talking about my stereo system last year, they were talking about paying $59. And every time I paid $59, the balance went up.
You go up. Right.
And they okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's money in their pocket.
Yeah. And until we get to the point where, how long is this going to take? I mean, if I calculated that, it would never be paid off
Mm-hmm.
if I continued. So the mindset of basically saying, I can pay my bills
Mm-hmm.
and be in bondage to the
Wow.
person that I'm paying and
Wow.
pay all of my bills every month. How many
Mm-hmm.
times have we heard that? I pay my bills every month. That's not the name of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's to, if you pay them off,
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. But just to pay your bill, paying what they asked you to pay,
Yeah.
you've got to read the final the
Yep.
bottom line.
That keeps you tethered to whatever the purchase
Institution.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. And so anxiety comes up, stress comes up. Again, now this is affecting our life. This is
Mm-hmm.
affecting the way we navigate now. Because now, if life begins to throw challenges at us and we're in debt, because we've already given our future our future spending, our future income to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's what starts the downward spiral because you're consistently in this. You're now in this perpetual loop of playing catch up.
And without a system, without a program or plan to get out of that, you will stay in it because it's intended for you to stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're going to do is some effective ways to repay debt. And there are two particular methods. There's a snowball effect and there's a debt avalanche effect.
Okay.
They're basically trying to pay off consumer debt. And the debt snowball is that what you do is you find your smallest debt that you have, your smallest amount that you have, and you add to it. You add more money on it. Your payment, if it's $100, you get as much as you can and put on that debt until you pay it off. If it's $200, whatever you have extra, you put on that so that you can pay that off quickly because it's the smallest amount. If you have debt, 3 different credit cards, one is at $5,000, one is at $2,500, and the other one's at $500. You want to take that $500 and say, I'm going to get this one off my plate and throw all of my extra money. Now pay those other two. You got to pay those minimums, but then you pay that other one off as much as you can every month. You throw it on there. That's what they call the snowball effect. Now the paying off the high interest one is the one that's called the avalanche. And that's the one where you take the one with the highest interest. Now this is the one that gives you the most you save the most money, because if you take this large one that has the biggest interest rate
Mm-hmm.
and try to pay that one down, that means that you'll be not paying as much interest on those credit cards at a quicker rate. You get that one down. Now it's going to take you longer to pay a $5,000 one down at a higher interest rate than it does the one that's the smaller one, even if the smaller one has a higher interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to get that big one taken care of. That saves you money, but it doesn't give you a quick fix. The little one gets you a quick fix, because the little one gives you like this. Once you pay that one off, and let's say you were able to put $50 extra on that one a month.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're at $250 or $150. You take that one after you pay that one off to roll that over into the $2,500 one that you owe. And now that's when you begin to see the snowball effect, because now you're doubling that payment up, making that one quicker to go down. And so that process helps you to say to get from underneath that debt quicker. And you just do it continually and continue until it's all gone. The beautiful thing about this payment plan or this method is that you begin to program yourself and to see the value of the progress that you're making. And that's where those disciplines, those mindsets come, those attitudes come into place, because you begin to see the value of what you're accomplishing with those mindset. It keeps you focused. They keep you on course, and it allows you to to get out of debt quicker. My experiences with this type of situation. Now, before we go that though, there's one other strategy that you can use to pay off consumer debt, and that's consumer consolidation.
Okay. Yep. We hear that a lot.
You take those three credit cards, let's use them as an example, those three credit cards, and the one with the lowest interest rate, you transfer all of those other two to the one with the lowest interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got the max, you put all of that into that one, your payments would go down. But here's the point. You don't pay less. You just putting it all on the same credit card with a lower interest rate, allowing you to pay it down quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's the benefit of the consolidation. What's some of your experiences? Have you had some experiences, Oliver, on any of these things as it relates to?
I have unfortunately had experiences on the not so positive side of this, and experiences on the other side as well. I've been in situations where I've had to pay things down. I've been in the consolidation scenario as well. Because those of you who, if you saw last week's, you heard my story about my Discover card that I received in college,
Mhm.
and what I did with that. The poor decision I made with that. That would not be my last. I won't say poor decision, because there are some things that happened to me in the way of debt that were good things. They were needed and necessary, but they were needed and necessary because of a previous bad decision.
Compounding.
Right. So you're doing a good thing, and it would have been a great thing had the circumstances been different, but the
Mm-hmm.
circumstances were not different because the decision that was made way down the line. And it's interesting how debt does that, right? I talk about being in a perpetual state of catch up. It's, unless you're intentional about getting ahead of the cycle, you're going to find yourself on this hamster wheel of, okay, I have to make what might not be the greatest decision so that I don't get run over by the previous decision.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I've definitely been I've definitely been in some of those areas. I had, so I'll give you another college story. I'll give you another college story. So a I took some time off from college. That's a whole another type of podcast and story in and of itself. But took some time off from college and got a job. Got a job, and for at that time in my life was a pretty decent job. So I wanted to purchase a vehicle. I had a vehicle before. That vehicle died. Another story again with that as well.
I'm gonna
But
let
now,
you pick the next story.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
gonna pick the next show. The next show.
yeah. That's gonna be that's something different. But so this story in particular, I get the job, great job at the time. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go get a car. I can afford this car at the time, right? So I get a car, and for a college kid, it was a really nice car. I wish I still had it today. So fast forward through the story now, I get the opportunity to go back to school. So I get the opportunity to go back to school. I leave this job that was actually I had no problem paying the car note, but now I'm back in school and I'm working a campus job. The campus job is not enough for me to pay the car note. So, as bad luck would have it, I lose the car. Now that puts me in a financial bind because and anybody who knows about, this scenario, when you get a car repossessed, even if it's voluntary, they sell the car. Whatever they get for the car, they put on towards your debt. God forbid, whatever they get for the car is less than what you owe. Now you're in debt. And so that for me started a a avalanche, and not in a good way, of situations that followed me for a good little while.
Yeah, you entered into a whole nother area now. You're talking about credit.
Yeah.
You're talking about your credit score.
Yep.
Yeah.
Credit score on on one side of the coin, and the fact that I owed this money on the other side of the coin.
Oh well, but that was the was the cause that your credit
Yep.
score
Right.
started to plummet,
Right.
and
And
that's
that's, just a good example of how one thing now it just kind of spills over into the next thing, and you find yourself kind of running behind it as opposed to managing it from in front.
let me ask you this: how do you think? What caused you to make the decisions that you made, if you don't mind?
That's a great question. So if we talk about the credit card situation we talked about last week,
Uh-huh.
that was me comparing myself with other folks,
Mm-hmm.
and just I just got tired of seeing my roommate, burning them all down, and I was like, so there's no way he gonna leave with 50 bags and I'm gonna leave with nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
some of those decisions have been were peer pressure type of decisions, or me comparing myself or feeling like, because you talked about discipline, right? And the beauty and sacrifice. And the beautiful thing about discipline and sacrifice is that when you really are able to learn that and accept it, one of the things it tells you is that you don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
And you
Mm-hmm.
don't need it to feel fulfilled. You don't need to look a certain way in front of people. You don't need to keep up with nobody. None of that is necessary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to answer your question, some of the decisions for me that were made were just, you know, I trying to keep up,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
trying to, not be the odd man out in my circle. Um, and then some of the decisions were rash decisions. I wasn't even trying to keep up, but I just, instead of creating a plan, I just did something very quickly that turned out to be detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the thing about it is we don't know it's detrimental until it's detrimental.
Right. Right. And
And
you know what? Sometimes, if I'm being honest, sometimes that there's the potential for it to be detrimental, but your level of desperation in the moment causes you to be like, you know what? I don't care. I'll deal with that later. right?
What do
Same with
you?
the house. Same with the house thing. When you talk about the house, where people are like, I know I can't afford this house, and I know I'm taking an interest only loan, but you know what? By the time 3 years comes around, I would have gotten a 6-figure job, so it's cool. I'm gonna take it. Like it's been. I've made some of those kind of decisions as well.
Yeah, but what? Let me ask you this: was it intentionally? You intentionally made that decision, knowing what the consequences could be.
I have definitely made a decision knowing what the consequences would be. I have. I'll be honest. I've made a so I'll give you a real world example. I'll give you a real world example. So that car thing happened in college. Later on in life, I purchased a vehicle, and at the time I'm like, man, this is a high payment. However, I can afford it. I might not be able to afford too much else after it, but I can afford it. So since I can afford it, I'm going to do it. And what a lot of people don't think about with the financial piece as it relates to responsibility is just because you can afford it doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. Because if you making $1,000 a week and your car payment is 850, yeah, you can afford it. But what else?
It's
Nothing.
called maintenance. Yes, maintenance,
Nothing.
gas.
Right. So I've made decisions like that in the past too, where it was an intentional decision based on based on me using logic to my own personal advantage, even though the logic didn't necessarily make sense. I
Yeah,
said in my mind, well, I can afford it. Well, if you can afford it, then that's hey, let's do it. And
yeah.
then now I'm scraping and grinding and struggling. And thankfully, what happened in that situation, because people who know me know I'm pretty transparent, so I don't mind telling it. Thankfully, what happened in that situation was my father went, there was a period of time where my father was considering buying another car. And it just so happened that the time that he was considering was the same time that I was realizing, okay, wait a minute, bro. Yeah, you can afford it, but you can't afford nothing else. And so he took the car over. And so
See,
that's how I got out of that.
see. I mean, yeah, I hear you, and that's those are the types of things that we're thankful for.
Yeah.
um, but it's really in the terminology in which we expose ourselves to, because for the mere fact that you said that you could afford it
Hmm.
was a misconception at every
Exactly.
point.
Exactly.
At every
Exactly.
point. I mean, it's
And that
like,
and that's what we don't and that's what that's what I love about what you guys are doing, what you're doing with Clear Journey, because affording means something more than do you have the amount of money that's necessary in the moment. You got
it's
to look way beyond that moment.
and therein lies the value of the mindset,
Hmm.
because that's where that's where you prevent future um problems,
Hmm.
because life is unpredictable in that regard.
Yeah.
And the better we are prepared, and you've heard me say this before, preparation. And how do
Mhm.
you know? Because there's certain things that you need to be considering to say I can afford it.
Right.
And when you don't know what those components are,
Right.
you're making decisions and saying that you can afford something that you've not taken full to everything into consideration.
Hmm.
And that's what we're trying to prevent, because once we sign our name on the bottom line, we hooked.
Yeah. It's a wrap.
We hooked. It's the hook on the fish, and
Hmm.
that's all they want
Yeah.
is to put you in. If it's a nice, shiny, good looking, feel good, they get you on that hook.
Hmm.
Boy, no matter how far and fast you run, you can't get away from that hook.
Yeah. Listen, so full transparency, the financial piece. in terms of navigating life from a financial standpoint is not a strong suit of mine at all. Like I could tell you many stories, and a lot of them involve cars.
Hey,
I have
you know,
another story too, and I won't tell it, but I'll tell you the end of the story. The end of the story was, man, through some miracle, I was able to return it.
that's pretty good if you didn't get
And,
caught with nothing.
and they took it back.
That's a rarity.
That is a rarity. That's a
That's a
rarity.
rarity.
I got into something, and it wasn't so much that I couldn't afford it, but I made a rash decision, and that rash decision was going to cause me to have to. It was going to cause me to pay more for this particular vehicle than what it was worth, just because I didn't take the time to just be disciplined enough to do some extra research and not let fear and angst and panic take over. Right. So I got into this thing based on fear, angst, and panic. I just jumped at the first thing and then realized like the next day, after kind of coming down off of that panic, I'm like, wait a minute, they are killing me on this
Oh,
car.
you get 72 hours. You get
Yeah.
72 hours to take it back.
They are killing me. And
Hmm.
I was like, nope, we can't do that.
Yeah,
We
they
can't.
do. The dealers give you 72 hours to bring it back.
Okay. Yeah. So,
So,
matter of
so
fact, I might have. So, I think the miracle, though, is that I might have passed that window before I actually went back. But they took it back. So,
they said, I guess if they can keep the miles, or maybe you didn't drive it much.
I
So
didn't. I didn't actually. I didn't. I was feverishly looking for a way out, and
yeah.
they gave me a way out. So,
Again, you've gone through everything that I've talked about as it
bro,
relates to what it is. We talk about
and
anxiety,
and
stress.
more.
Yeah, but these are the things that it intentionally does to you, and it
Hmm.
makes you now afraid. We're
Yep.
afraid of those situations. Like, what am I going to do now? And
Hmm.
the ability to be able to prevent those things from happening serves you a whole lot better
Yes, it
than
does.
having to figure out how to get out of it.
Yes, it does. If I'm a, and for anybody who's listening, man, who is at the beginning of their journey as it relates to navigating finances, man, there's you got to get around folk like Clear Journey and get the knowledge, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if the stuff that I've been exposed to in just the last 4 years alone, had I known in my 20s, you want to talk about a different world, bro. Like,
And all that we talking about are those three words we talked about: discipline,
mhm,
sacrifice, and responsibility. If you can grab hold to these three words and apply them to your finances,
mhm,
boy, wealth will follow you. Wealth will follow you. It will follow you. But it takes these things to understand that that's what it takes to be
mhm,
able to build wealth. Nobody's going to build wealth without having that. And then the thing about it is, and this is the beautiful thing about it, because the thing about understanding and getting the knowledge and stuff about how you can better manage and navigate these finances is to begin to flip the script on the lenders.
mm,
The flipping the script on lenders is, I mean, it's a beautiful thing
mhm,
when you're able to do that, but it all comes from having the right mindset and understanding what their game is, understanding what it is and how it's working. um the things that I've done and what I do, I'm intentional in what if I don't have to use my money and I
mhm,
can use a creditor's money.
mhm,
They give you 18 months, just like crack cash.
mhm,
Oh, I'm on Here's the thing: as long as I have the money, that at any time I can pay it off,
mhm,
but I'll use somebody else's money so I can keep my cash flow
mhm,
and keep my money in the bank,
mhm,
so that when the bill come every month, I'm paying off anything that they say, okay, this is the 18 months. I take the total amount of what the cost is that I bought,
mhm,
divided by 12 or 18. I usually do it I divide it by like 16 or 17. So I have plenty of room in there and pay it off so that I can be done with it. Use their money for 17 months. It's being able to do that, but intentionally, knowing that, because I don't think I get credit cards like that all the time, trying to entice me to get into it. 25% interest on it. And they be like, okay, yeah, we'll give you free 90 days or 18 months of no interest on your first purchase. Oh yeah, I'm killing that. I'm taking advantage of that because I'm in a position so that I can use their money, let my money work for me, and use theirs for 18 months and get exactly what I want right now. That's flipping the script. And
that's smart.
That's where we want to get to, is begin to make those decisions for ourselves, that now we're in control of somebody else's money. Not only in control of ours, but we're in control of somebody else's money, because they're trying to entice us, but we know what they're doing. We know how they're trying to entice us to get caught into that 20% interest, because all it takes is one day over that 18 months, and they're going to accumulate all of those 18 months of interest on you. So don't play the game if you ain't able to play the game.
Right. That's a crucial thing to say.
Don't
crucial
play that game. Okay, but this is what I'm saying. That's where you're trying to get to, but you got to get out of debt before you can get there. And that's the beautiful thing about this game. They don't get to control the mechanism once they got it. Once it's out there, it's out there. Every month, if you're paying your bills, you're paying them all off. If whatever you buying, you paying it off at the end of the month, no interest accumulates on it. No interest accumulates on it. So you can use a credit card as long as you paying it off. If you don't have it to pay it off at the end of the month, that means you ain't got the money. Don't do it.
Right.
Don't do it. It's a convenience thing. Credit card is a convenience. I remember probably in the early 90s where McDonald's wasn't taking credit cards then. McDonald's wasn't taking credit. You cash only. And that saved me so much money because I only use credit. I very rarely walked around had any money. So if I couldn't go to McDonald's if I ain't had no money. And so they didn't take credit cards, but they realized that was a game changer there, credit cards. And so they started taking credit cards in the mid 90s. Everybody starts, McDonald's revenue probably had to skyrocket when they did that.
They took a jump. Definitely.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you don't have it, don't use it. The credit card is a convenience, shouldn't be a rescue. And I think many of us use it as a rescue.
Yeah, you're right. They look at it as a resource. They look at it as a main source as opposed to a resource.
Okay. As long as you can you understand what that resource is and how to use it.
And how to use it, right? And typically you have usually it's supplemental to something. So just like how you said, you are only don't play the game unless you know you have the money to play the game, right? So you know that there is a main source, which is I got the money to do this. But now, along with that main source, there is a resource that that resource is managed properly, can be beneficial to me. But a lot of people get the credit card and they make the credit card the main source. They're like, oh, you gave me a $5,000 limit. Now I have $5,000. No, you don't. You don't.
You got a $5,000 hook.
Right.
And that's the point. That $5,000 is probably 10 or 15 years of your projected income. Projected income.
Yeah, man.
And that's something that none of us want to be able to. You don't want to ever put yourself. One of the words that I use as it relates to setting my budget has to do with it's designated and obligated. There's two words. Designated, obligated. Obligated belongs to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Designated is money that I designate, but I have to be as disciplined with that as I am with somebody else's money,
Mm-hmm.
so that I'm staying focused on what's important.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see that, and we find ourselves spending most of our money is obligated, and we don't have much designated, and we just trying to get by
Mm-hmm.
on designated. We don't designate it, we just spending it in any kind of fashion. We never getting ahead.
Yeah.
But when we designate it, we saying, okay, this is going towards something that I wanted to go towards, not towards something that is obligated to be able to do. Like, for instance, obligated stuff is your housing,
Mm-hmm.
your food, your gas, that's obligated stuff. You don't have no choice. Though any of your bills that
Mm-hmm.
you have to pay, you've promised them to pay that money. That means that you have to give them that money. And if it doesn't, it will reflect back on your credit score,
Right.
which is in turn your credit, your character, which is again the last thing. Um, this is all about what we've been talking about as it relates to developing a positive and resilient mindset is critical to overcoming debt. It's critical because if you put all of this together and you think about the stress that it's put you under,
Mm-hmm.
the anxiety, the feeling of overwhelmness, if you can have this type of a mindset, the resilience to stick to it,
Mm-hmm.
to do the things to get you out of this debt, you will alleviate the stress. You would alleviate the anxiety, the overwhelmingness, and then you will begin to feel the benefits of not being in debt.
Yeah, and that's something you said is key too. You talk about the commitment to doing the things that are necessary for you to get out of debt, right? And that's going to require you to give up some things. That's going to require you to cut back on some things. That's going to require you to deny yourself some things. That's going to require you to stop living by the instant gratification rule. And some of that stuff is going to be delayed and delayed potentially, depending on how big of a hole you're in, delayed for a considerable amount of time. And you got to be cool with that. You got to accept that.
The value, again, if you look back on our definition of a sacrifice, the act of giving up something valuable for something that's considerably more important or worthy. You've got to realize that being out of debt affords you opportunities. And here's that's a new word for us, opportunities
Mm-hmm.
that being in debt does not afford you.
Mm-hmm.
They don't afford you. And what life is all about is the ability to acquire opportunities. Is the ability to acquire opportunities. That's why I'm very specific when I say consumer debt,
Mm-hmm.
because businesses carry debt too,
Right.
but that debt creates revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And see, that's a different that presents opportunities. It offers opportunities to generate revenue. That's what that debt does.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a different way of managing, because it's affording you opportunities.
Right.
Consumer debt doesn't do that. And that's why it's not beneficial to carry it. You know, when you're carrying it, you have to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And businesses are intentional because that's what they're doing. They're creating revenue, and it gives them opportunities to generate more revenue.
Right.
So everything that we talked about tonight, it's the mindset, it's the attitudes that's required so that you can do the things that are necessary. Strategies for securing financial wellness is one thing. You know, we could tell you all the things to do, but ultimately it comes down to you performing them continually
Hmm.
over and over. And until you get it, you know, it might be a little bit of a struggle, but the benefits, man, that's what I'm saying. If you can see the benefits of staying out of debt and not or getting out of debt, it's a beautiful thing. And so next week we're going to finish it up. We have a part three, um, and we're going to talk about another part of the strategy of financial wellness. But again, if we can remember and continue to think about the mindset, the
Hmm.
attitudes, the self discipline, the sacrifice, the responsibility, it will serve you well in your journey in life navigating it.
Indeed. Indeed. Indeed.
So that was that. Hopefully that will go into the archives for those that haven't wasn't here live. We'll have an opportunity to follow it up. But again, um, the connection between the mindset and the actual application of this experience and how we can apply these things in our lives on a day-to-day basis is what we're trying to do here at Clear Journey, is to put the right mindsets in the places so that we can navigate life successfully at any stage in life, whether it's in the early stages, the midlife crisis, the midlife stages, or in your older years. I mean, we're not even started to talk about retirement, and you can never start talking about retirement too soon.
Hmm.
But that's also another area that you have to prepare for. It
Yeah.
just doesn't happen, you know? And so this is a long piece. um, so Oliver, I know finances is not your bread and butter, but tell the people what your bread and butter is.
My bread and butter is relationships. The thing I'm passionate about is seeing relationships thrive. Now, financial management is a piece of that. And so, as such, individuals like Clear Journey and some others come alongside us and help with that space. But in terms of you being able to communicate on an extraordinary level, recognize, manage, and recover from conflict in record time, and build a holistic bond, I am your guy. So if you want to connect with me on social media, that is the handle there at Denali LLC. You can also email me, Oliver at Denali.org. As an author, speaker, and coach in that space, it is my goal to do what's on my t-shirt. 2020 before hindsight. Help somebody gain some clarity on the front end before they do something that throws off their life. So let's have a conversation.
Yeah, so reach out to Oliver. He's one of our strategic partners in one of those areas, those 8 areas that we're talking about, relationships. That's what he's about. So reach out to him. If you want to know more about Clear Journey, go to clearjourney.org and find more out about us. We're there for you, that one-stop shop, so that we can help you navigate life more successfully. And also, if you'd like to support us, go there and give us a donation. We are looking and we appreciate it. Go there and also you can pick up my book, Love Made Simple, the guide to inner peace, contentment, and success. Will help us also support Clear Journey in our mission to help you navigate life more successfully. Again, the attitudes that we talk about here, Clear Journey, comes out of my book. And that's what it is that we connect these areas of life and the attitudes of life together so that we can navigate life successfully. Um, you can reach me there, or you can send me an email at info@clearjourney.org and say you heard me on the podcast and you have a question for you or ask me something. But by all means, if you do run across this podcast, subscribe to our channel, please, and give us a comment. Let us know if it's something that we can do for you to help you navigate life more successfully. You have any other thing, Oliver?
No, I think that's it. It's time to
Well,
get our finances in order.
hey, it's a good time.
Yeah,
Knowledge is power, and that allows us to be able to live a more successful life. It's all connected.
indeed.
So, as usual, we can't change life, but we can surely help you navigate it. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Later.